All right, A to Z Sports. It's the Titan Postgame Live. Sam Phelan with Easton Freeze. A final score of 42-19 from your Titans. I guess what does that make our second half score? 14-13 here, 14-12. Easton, yeah, 14-12.
Yeah.
Titans battled a little bit in the second half. Had some positives. First half, way too much to overcome. The rushing attack of Washington, way too much to overcome as the Titans get run all over. We're here to recap kind of everything that happened. We'll talk about the play of Will Levis. We'll talk about our X factors that we had before the game, kind of tell the story of this game, figure out where things went wrong. And then Easton and I have an update for all of you that are trusting the tank about the Titans situation in the NFL draft projections, because some scores around the league had serious implications on the Titans standing within the 2025 NFL draft. Before we do it, some love to our partners here, X Golf Nashville, now in Murfreesboro as well, the home of indoor golf in Middle Tennessee. At X Golf, you can play, train, and entertain. Visit playxgolf.com. BetMGM, log in today to get your Pro Football Boost Pack to acquire tokens for more winnings. BetMGM is an official partner of the Tennessee Titans. And T-Dot, be part of the solution to end littering and make sure nobody trashes Tennessee while visiting nobodytrashestennessee.com. Easton, tell the folks what to do real quick, and let's get into our reactions.
Gotta like the show. Gotta like the show, folks. Hit that like button, thumbs up for us on YouTube, on Facebook. Like the show. We're going to break down whatever that was. An insane game for the Titans, an insane first quarter, an insane first half, an inexcusably bad defense performance, but we can't do any of that until you like the show for us. Be a friend. Hit that like button.
All right. While you guys like the show, I mean, Easton, what's the initial reaction? There's a lot here. It looked like the Titans had maybe a little bit of life at one point in the second half. They had cut the deficit to 28-13. They got an interception from Amani Hooker. But overall, they just can't stop the run in the second half. They give up so many rushing yards. I thought Calvin Ridley's performance in the second half really hurt the Titans as well, with a couple of opportunities to hit some big explosive plays that he didn't cash in on. And then give up that one long drive that ends with a Commander's touchdown that really ended any comeback efforts, ended any potential comeback.
Drive that, if I'm not mistaken, that drive was over when Jarvis Brownlee Jr. drew the PI, correct? Was that same drive?
That was not the same drive.
Okay, never mind then.
I don't think so anyways. I think
that was a drive they eventually scored on, so maybe I'm just thinking of a different
drive. I'm looking at the possessions real quick. It was a touchdown drive in the second half. The Jarvis Brownlee Jr. drive actually was an interception by Amani Hooker immediately. A couple plays later. It was the drive afterwards, went 9 plays and 72 yards, 4 minutes and 25 seconds, ended in a Commander's touchdown, which extended the lead to 35-13 at that point in time. And that was really not something that they were going to be able to overcome.
Right.
I mean, the second half, it looked like what we thought the game could look like. The Titans looked a little bit more competent. They looked like they had some fight in them. They hit some decent plays. They were in this second half. It was just a first half, and whatever the heck we saw in that first half with how unprepared this team was, ends up being too much to overcome. I mean, you're not going to overcome a 28-0 deficit all that often.
So let's break it down by what really broke this game, right? So you open, the Titans get the ball first, and this is all from memory. So if you have the thing pulled up and I'm wrong, correct me. But you get the ball first for the Titans. Couple penalties, a bad series ends in a ridiculous 3-and-out. You get to like 4th and 21, right? You put the ball away. Go ahead. What was that?
It literally just macro, like zoom out. It was 3-and-out, touchdown, punt, touchdown, fumble on the first play, touchdown, fumble on the kickoff, touchdown. That was how the game started.
I mean, yeah, you just said very quickly what I was about to get into. So, yes.
And like you said, I mean, little things in there. That first penalty or that first drive is a false start before you've even run a play, which puts you in a 1st and 15. You run the ball for 1 yard. You get another false start, and all of a sudden it's 2nd and 19 for the Titans. They get a screen pass that goes nowhere. They have to punt the ball. Now you're down a touchdown. One possession later, you come in, you get a solid run, 2 solid runs for a first down. But then you end up stalling out with a deflected pass at the line of scrimmage. You punt the ball, give up another touchdown, and then you don't get the ball back until you're already down 28-0.
Right. I'm trying to just pinpoint the plays that broke this game, and I come back to just a couple of them, right? It's the Brian Robinson 40-yard house call touchdown on the opening drive. It was kind of the canary in the coal mine for how the day would be for the Titans' run defense. It was the back-to-back fumbles from Pollard in Titans territory and then from Jackson on the kick return in Titans territory, setting the Commanders up for a 24 and a 34-yard touchdown drive. Very Lions game-esque in the sense that minimal yards required for those touchdowns. And that's pretty much all she wrote right there. Those are the 3 plays, I think, because those 3 plays were touchdown plays. And one of those 4 first half touchdowns from the Commanders was just a long grinding drive that also kind of breaks your spirit, but nothing on that drive that was a massive defensive failure so much as just the Commanders executing well on offense. So I point to that Brian Robinson failure in interior run for a 40-yard house call touchdown, and then the back-to-back fumbles that directly led to touchdowns.
Yeah, the 2 fumbles absolutely killed you and made what was a bad defensive effort all that much worse, because you gave them short fields and you gave them the ball back immediately. And this has kind of been a thing for a bit now, like how bad this Titans defense low key actually is.
It's been trending there, right? And today the dam kind of broke.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of this way against Houston. They bottled up the run and still ended up giving up a lot of explosive pass plays that, surrendered a lot of points. And
they finished strong. That's what kind of kept us from talking about it, right? Because I remember for 3/4 of that game, in the back of my head, content creator brain going, all right, well, Titans defense being a concern is going to be a talking point for us this week. And they finished strong with the 4 sacks there in the second half. And you're like, okay, never mind. Fine. But a quarter and a half of strong play kind of undid what was 2.5, 3/4 of what's going on here. And we saw what's going on here for 4 quarters today, straight through.
Yeah. And I mean, not to jump the gun, but, we talked a little bit before the game about being able to stop the run and how much better this Titans defense is when they can stop the run.
Right.
How critical that has been for some of the teams that have slowed Washington down over the past month when we've sort of seen this wall. And that did not happen today. And when you're giving a team like Washington the ability to run the football, I mean, talk about playing a rookie quarterback and how you can make a rookie quarterback's life so easy. It's giving up all of these rushing yards and, putting them in a position where
staying ahead of
Jane Daniels really doesn't have to do a whole lot.
Never behind the sticks, right?
Never behind the sticks. And matter of fact, could have just run the ball the entire way.
Well, 45 rush attempts for 267 yards, 5.9 yards per carry. And both of our X factors were about different elements of the Titans' run defense. They did my X factor. Daniels took off for 9 carries, only 34 yards. So 3.8 yards per attempt. Not great, but for a rushing quarterback with Daniels' ability, I think if you can sign up to hold a guy like Daniels or Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray to 3.8 yards per scurry, when a lot of those are broken passing plays and not designed runs, right? Like those are the types of things that tend to be the most efficient runs in the entire game. You'd sign up for that. It was the rest of the guys where you've got Brian Robinson Jr. with his best rushing day of the year. Chris Rodriguez Jr., a player that I became familiar with today. Apparently he got cut a couple days ago. Not almost 100 yards for him. Titans legend Jeremy McNichols getting 30 yards of his own, averaging 5.3 yards per carry. I don't yet have an answer as to what went wrong there, but what had been the Titans' singular strength all season, which was interior run defense between the tackles. You could not run on this team. Today, they turned into pumpkins. Yes.
You're getting a little bit ahead of about 20 minutes ahead of yourself here. If you're going to talk X factors, I'm okay with talking X factors. Right. So we can talk them, but at least let me tell the folks about X golf.
Okay, sorry about that.
Get all the way down the. I know we're all very fired up about the run defense.
It's just it's what sticks out from this game, right? I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. So we're talking X factors. What we said before the game was going to be the X factor for a Titans win, and what ended up being an X factor for the Titans loss, which are brought to you by X Golf Nashville now in Murfreesboro as well. They've reinvented the player experience by creating the most accurate golf indoor simulators on the market today where you can work on your golf game all while being totally entertained and playing the top courses in the world. So, go get some food, get some drinks at the bar, watch some football, and work on your golf game. They've got Monday Night Football leagues starting this fall. So those are going on right now. You can compete for prizes and bragging rights watching Monday Night Football on one of their 10 big screen TVs. Visit playxgolf.com to find out more about those leagues and to make a booking. So yes, you bring up the X factors. My X factor was the Titans being able to stop the run. I went through that list of games in which the Titans defense has been successful. In these games that they have held opponents to less than 20 points, in games that they have just won, and we felt pretty okay about the Titans' defensive effort. And it was a lot of 1.5 yards per carry, 1.6 yards per carry. It was pretty much that all the way through. Brian Robinson, 6.4 yards per carry. Chris Rodriguez, 7.2 yards per carry. Jeremy McNichols, 5.3 yards per carry. No matter who the running back was, you were getting absolutely gashed.
You were getting a first down every 2 runs.
Basically.
That dog will hunt.
And those are a few short yardage. There's a lot of 1-yard runs in there, and then a lot of 11, 10 yard runs in there. So it really puts Jaden Daniels, if you think about what are the things that you're trying to do to make a quarterback uncomfortable, like we talked about, you want to bring pressure. You want to put him behind the sticks. You want to take away the run game and force him to stand back there and make throws. It's what a lot of teams have been doing to the Commanders. It's why Cliff Kingsbury has struggled on offense a little bit. The Titans do the exact opposite. So like you mentioned, your X factor was containing Jaden Daniels on the ground, which I think you did an okay job of. You didn't give up any huge runs to Jaden Daniels, but it doesn't matter if the Commanders' run game as a whole is working this well with running backs.
Right. And I don't know. I don't want to make any sweeping statements before I get to watch the tape because defense is a hard thing to evaluate in real time. And I know that the Titans, it bears mentioning with the Titans defense trending in the wrong direction lately. They've lost a lot of talent, whether it's due to injury, whether it's sending guys away. I mean, you mentioned at halftime replacing Ernest Jones with Baker ultimately in the linebacker position is brutal. You're losing out on a number of guys due to injury for the year, like Gibbons, like who else have they lost to injury for the year here? The safety. Diggs is out for the year, playing a lot of really important football for them early in the season. And then at cornerback, you have a starter, you're one guy that you kind of been hanging on to all year long. McCreary out there on the edge goes down with a shoulder. You miss him you got a lot of triage. But
who was in for the Titans when McCreary went down?
That's a great question. I'll have to go look. I don't know. Chat, help us out. Who was the cornerback that came in lieu of McCreary in that game? I don't know. But my point being, despite all of those things, and that's part of this, right? That you don't have the horses out there anymore. Trey Avery once says that checks out.
Makes sense.
I don't really know what Denard Wilson is doing, and I'm starting to question his approach to these games where he seems to be, to me, his approach schematically seems like he's saying we are going to try to play our football no matter who we're facing. We're not necessarily going to tailor our game plan to the strengths of the defense we're playing. Or to the offense we're playing. We're going to try to dictate terms defensively. And sometimes that works. And that's a really strong way to play football when you've got really good dudes you're working with. But especially when you're at a talent deficit in most matchups. And when you're getting kicked in the teeth 28-0 to start a game, you got to adjust, man. And when you're getting run on the way that these guys were getting run on, you got to adjust, man. And you're still not putting many bodies in the box. You're leaving the A and B gaps wide open. You're not stacking the middle of the field with safeties and linebackers. You're spreading it out. And I know that they're getting gashed passing too, but man, you got to try something. And I want to watch the tape because maybe I just missed it, but I didn't see them trying much in that game. Sam,
it seems like Denard Wilson is trying to rely a lot, as he has all year, on Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat. to just be the run defense, to
Right.
just be the thing that stops teams from running the football on them.
And that's not smart or fair.
What Washington did very early on was run the ball off the tackles and,
Mhm.
force a guy like Jerome Baker to come and make a play. Newsflash, not good.
Yeah.
Not good. Bad. Very bad. Very lucky the Titans didn't sign him in the offseason. Otherwise, we would have gotten more games of this. Makes sense to me why the Seahawks decided to trade him away when they were looking to add an upgrade with Ernest Jones. He's not good at football. He's a huge downgrade, even over Jack Gibbons. And, Gibbons was certainly a downgrade from what they had going with Ernest Jones. So, yeah, the defense has kind of, like we brought up earlier, sort of been boiling up to this point where we felt like fraudulent defense, and this is the pop. You didn't get a pick six. You didn't get a special teams touchdown. You didn't get any of those things that are padding the points against you numbers, and you gave up 42 points. You gave up over 250 rushing yards. You gave up 463 net offensive yards, and the average gain per play was 6 yards for Washington. You gave up 29 total first downs, 13 of them on the ground. How many rushing first downs do you think the Titans had today?
Oh, man. Well, they only had, 26 total rushing yards in the game? So 1, 0? I don't know.
Yeah,
okay.
1.
I'm honestly
1
surprised there was 1. I couldn't tell you where the 1
run
came
plays
from.
for a first down, 13-1. That kind of sums up these X factors. It sums up the defensive effort. And it's why you ended up getting absolutely blown out. All right, let's move on. Let's go a little bit more broad strokes here from the chat. I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to be all over the place and maybe off the walls, and I might regret even asking you the question, but I will still ask you, what's one word to describe the Titans' loss to the Commanders? Give us one word to describe.
Open up that thesaurus. Give us some fresh words. I don't want to hear
Easton
terrible, awful, tank. If those are your words, frankly, keep them to yourself.
Keep them
to yourself.
While you guys do that, I'm going to give you a couple of words from our friends over at T-Dot. Be part of the solution to end littering. Did you know that there's over 88 million pieces of litter on Tennessee's roadways right now? It's a big problem, and we can all be part of the solution. So while the Titans look for solutions, we're looking for solutions for the littering problem in Tennessee. T-Dot spends over $23 million each year cleaning up litter, but they can't do it alone. You can help by making simple changes. Stop littering. Pick up litter when you see it. Join local cleanups. Every action counts. Tennessee needs all of us to step up. So be part of the solution today and help keep Tennessee beautiful. Visit NobodyTrashesTennessee.com to get involved and see how you can make a difference. Easton, any good words in the chat? What do you see?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, this isn't particularly inventive, but it was the first word, and it truly is the most basic explanation for today. Defense, according to Jay. Catastrophe, according to Evan. Apathy from iKing. Debacle from Jacob. Pitiful from Cody. Oh, this is a good one. Repugnant from Adam. Points to Adam for repugnant. Deflating from Christopher Farrow. Loathe. Punked. Coaching. Drafty, not a word. I guess it actually is a word, but not in this context. Let's see. Anything else? Steamrolled. Shortcomings. Numb. Deflating. Ed just throwing out the longest word he can think of, but doesn't pertain to this situation, so I'm not going to put it on the screen. Inept from David. Is this expunging misspelled? But I also don't know what you mean by that. So elaborate.
What about cataclysmic?
Hey, points to Ty Smith for cataclysmic. That's a strong one. I like that. We're raising the bar for the level of words accepted in the word game around here. No more cheap ones.
All right.
I'm looking for any more.
Cataclysmic will do.
Cataclysmic is good. Yeah.
What is your one word if you had to put one word to this, Easton?
I think my one word is befuddling, just because the way in which
have it in the headlines, so I'd hope so.
I did do that actually, which in hindsight I shouldn't have done. That's subconscious for you. I would say befuddling because of the way that they lost, not that they lost. Obviously, losing was always firmly on the table for today, even though I liked their chances. They were playing a team that is better than them top to bottom, and they were on the road. So those things matter. But what was so befuddling about this was, again, that what had been their strength all year, and the one thing you could hang your hat on, when you were talking about the Titans defense. You cannot run between the tackles on this team. not only did the Commanders do that, they did it really, really effectively all game, and it didn't get slowed down at any point. It's not like, oh, well, they started hot and they broke some big ones with the Titans. They plugged that hole. No, they just never fixed it. And I am salivating for all the wrong reasons at the idea of getting to watch this tape tomorrow, because I have a lot of questions I need answered on a rewatch. And I don't know what changes they tried to make and why they did not work, or if they tried to make changes, which would be maybe the most damning thing of all, is if they just didn't adjust throughout the game personnel wise, but we'll see. So that part was befuddling. And then just the comedy of errors to begin the game, which I guess is less surprising, but to continue to see, and you mentioned it at halftime, the idea that this game was, to me, somebody who has been very sympathetic to the coaching staff. Obviously, people know this about me. I have put this largely on the players, the personnel this season. This is definitely the worst look for the coaching staff on the year. I'm not pleased with the coaching staff in this one at all. Put very simply, Sam, this looked like a game for one team coming off of kind of their Super Bowl for the year, or a win that they really, really needed, an emotional high, going to a team that had 3 consecutive weeks where they were frustrated and were down and needed a win in a bad way. And it became a buzzsaw spot for the Titans. I think one team running into another team based on where they were in their seasons, just a really bad mismatch. In hindsight, probably should have realized that a little bit. But yeah, the double fumbles, which it's like, oh, those coaches sure should get those guys to hold on to the ball harder. As much as I am displeased with a number of the coaching decisions in this game, I am equally displeased with the just the play. I'm trying to think of who gets off in terms of blame in this game, and it's like Chig, I think, had a good game.
Yep. I would agree.
And NWI started horrible, but ended up having a good game. So sort of he gets off, but there were some drops in there. So that like everybody else wearing Titans colors in Washington right now is responsible in some form or fashion. They were all bad today. Who else was not bad today?
Amani Hooker? Maybe.
He slipped in the end zone, gave up an easy touchdown.
That's true. He got an interception, but yeah.
Yeah.
That was right place at the right time,
interception.
too.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. It's not good. What's your word, Sam?
Oh man. I'll be part of your thing here.
Same genre?
No, I'm just gonna do your rules. I'm gonna play along.
A smart word? Okay.
Impudent.
Oh, would you like to define that for the class?
Powerless or feeble. Slightly overwhelmed. The Titans felt just overwhelmed, overpowered, had no answers, feeble in this game. It felt like, for every good thing that happened, they would have to overcome 3 bad things in order to get one good thing. And even the best of their good things were like the meme of Chris Paul cutting the lead to 42.
Chris Paul hits key 3 to cut lead to 37.
Right. Yeah. That is how it felt, that some of the things that the Titans did. I think there was some nice plays to celebrate, but even the joy of some of those good plays lasted such little time. It was so quickly, so fading, any of that glory that you felt in times. So this just felt like an overwhelmed Titans loss, an impudent defeat.
I like that. Impudent, folks. Write that down. Add that to your vocabulary. That's a good one. Impudent. Powerless. I agree. I completely agree. I think that is a good way to describe this game. All right. Impotent, says Cause, which is slightly more evocative, but we'll take that as well.
Got a couple of super chats here. King VZ put a super chat and said, "Lock in, like the show. Please do
appreciate
like the show. We're not at our like quota that we need to hit for our game day shows. So please like the show. Even if you didn't like the game, you can still like the show.
Right.
We need to all remember that.
In fact, it's most important to like the show when you.
And then
like the game.
Mike Vrabel's burner, who was doing a nice little victory lap.
Oh,
I think there's a non-zero chance that this is actually Mike Vrabel. Was taking a bit. Well, I mean, what's he doing right now? Mike Vrabel.
He's helping the Browns get ready to play their football game.
Is he?
Probably. I don't know. I would hope so, since he's
The
gainfully
Browns
employed
don't
there.
play until tomorrow, so he's
Oh,
got
you know what? Never mind. That's a
he's got
great
the
point.
afternoon free. So there's a non-zero chance that this is
Okay.
actually Mike Vrabel. Says the Titans don't need a QB. They need 2 edges, 2 receivers, a middle linebacker, and a right tackle. Thoughts? Because I actually don't know if I think I might agree with this.
I mean, I think not to like steal Mike Vrabel's potentially Mike Vrabel's opinion here, but we've kind of been saying this. Like I have been flippantly saying for a couple weeks, Sam, that this team is a right tackle edge and is good right tackle edge and quarterback play away from being an average team.
Yeah, they need more than 1 right tackle and 1 edge. I agree with Mike Vrabel.
Again, that statement for me has always been average team, not a great team. Just they'd be average if they had those 3 things.
Middle
Mike
linebacker
Vrabel's saying is to be good
right now.
You need multiple edges. You need good middle line. I mean, again, the middle linebacker position has just been a sieve this season with guys going down. Remember the Chance Campbell era? Remember that?
Yeah. Can I give you something that I think this team needs to? That
No.
I don't think is being talked about enough, because I do think he's
okay. Sure, go ahead.
The guy is playing well. Can we get like a vertical threat tight end? Can we get like an actual tight end that's part of the passing offense and
what
not
Josh Riley was supposed to be? You mean?
Exactly, but
Yeah.
I mean, Chigakonkwo, while he's playing well, is
not a vertical threat. Yeah,
he's a yak threat off of play action, and that's all that Chig is an athlete who can run with the football.
And you want one of those too, but you need the other guy too
as your second tight end. But you don't want I would like to see the Titans have a tight end that is an active part of what they're doing passing wise.
Who's pushing the seam? Who's forcing you to dedicate good coverage bodies up the middle of the field?
Right. And right now, I mean, your slot receiver in Tyler Boyd doesn't create separation to be that guy. You don't have a tight end that can be that guy. So you're left with a couple of wide receivers who Calvin Ridley played bad today. I think will be fine overall. So Myron says a tight end isn't a major concern.
I don't know if I agree with that, by the way.
What?
That Ridley played bad. I think he had a bad game. I don't know if he played bad. I can remember one truly bad drop, and there was a miscommunication that should have been a completion. And then there were 2 or 3 that arguably drops, but bad balls.
He should have had a bigger game though. Like
100. Yes, bad game. I just don't know if played badly is fair. If that makes sense.
Okay, I don't know if that makes sense to me, but that's okay. Myron says
you play good and just the ball doesn't. Hey, to take a page out of Rand Carthen's book, the ball doesn't bounce your way. Football, it's not a round ball.
Myron says tight end isn't a major concern. And I can see why.
Concern, but
I can see why. I don't think it's something that would pop up and you'd be like, oh, that's an issue. And certainly this is not the game with the way that Chig played today to be like, tight end is a problem. But I do think overall, the weapons that the Titans have right now are very sort of one-dimensional and how they can be used. And I think you're a couple of weapons that have a particular skill set away from really opening things up for yourself on offense. A vertical threat tight end could be one of those. A wide receiver could be one of those. I think obviously they need a right tackle. They need better edge play. Middle linebacker is a problem. So I do think overall decent comment, decent super chat from Mike Vrabel's burner, because we'll get into the quarterback play right now. But I think all of those things are more pressing needs for what the Titans are doing than the quarterback situation.
Right.
Next up, it is quarterback talk. It is grading the quarterback. It is grading Will Levis. So we'll ask the chat, how do you grade Will Levis's performance today versus the Commanders? How do you grade Will Levis's performance today? And the Titans lost to the Commanders. See what the chat has to say here, Easton. Do you want to get us started? Right, you can go to the chat.
We've got enough from the chat here. We'll start with the chat. Jay says he gives Will a B. Rick gives him a C. Jay apparently twice gives him a B. Ben gives him a B. Curtis, Lot, MP, and Anthony all give him a C. Couple B's from Isaac and Esco. Anthony, B- from Bobby. Solid B from Jay. Did Jay answer 3 times?
Solid B, solid B, solid B.
Sure. Cause says C. B- from Colin. B's from Willie Jeans, Adam, B- from Amanda, an incomplete score. I'm not sure. I mean, he did attempt 30 passes.
Incomplete maybe in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, he threw the ball a lot of times, so I don't know. Raz says C, B- from like I said, an L from Mr. Jones. Not sure what that means.
That's not a grade.
No, that means you lose. Solid B, C, B. So I have seen all B's and C's. Oh, a lot of C's came in. C, 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 C-, C-, C plus, G minus, which I'm thinking is a typo. I'm not seeing a single A in here. Here's a D, first D of the day from Steven, but I'm seeing no A's. There's one B plus from Craig. Okay, interesting. So my answer.
Final numbers on Will Levis, by the way.
Yeah, I was about to say
18 for 37, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no turnovers for the quarterback. Had a couple from the running back and from special teams, but Levis did not turn the ball over today. So another good game for him in terms of not putting the ball in harm's way, but 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, less than 50% completion percentage, 18 for 37.
Yeah, the correct grade for Will Levis today is a flat B. It was a B performance from him. I have a take here in a minute that we can elaborate on, but as for his actual grade, you have to grade this on a curve, because the entire game from a game script standpoint was turned on its head in the first quarter of the game. He was this was not a low completion percentage game because it was designed to be a 30-35 pass game in terms of all like this. Their whole plan for Will Levis on the day gets thrown out the window immediately. And again, what they run for 26 yards, they did not run the ball all day. So he was playing against a defense that knew he was going to be passing on essentially every single down because they were constantly behind 3 or 4 touchdowns. And that's exactly the kind of game script where in the past you expect Will Levis to throw a couple touchdowns, do a little bit too much on a couple plays, and eat a bunch of sacks. And he didn't do that all day. And to me, that is just yet another sign of growth. Legitimately, I say that with a straight face, because that is exactly the kind of game that really gets out of hand, and the offense isn't able to move the ball at all, basically all day, because of your quarterback play. If this is Will Levis from September, if this is even Will Levis from his rookie year, likely. That was a performance that I'm not going to sit here and say I'm deeply inspired by that quarterback performance, but the take that I want to get off my chest, and I wrote this down on my notepad in the middle of the third quarter. I'd imagine you probably agree with it. I saw our buddy Austin tweeted it. So great minds think alike, I suppose. The script has been flipped with Levis, because this is the 4th game in a row where I've given Will Levis a B or higher grade. We've talked all week about how well he looked in the first 3 games. I'm looking forward to see what like his passer rating and QBR and everything from this game is when that stuff comes out. But we spent how much of the beginning of the year, Sam, talking about how, man, the rest of this team is really not a big concern. The quarterback is a massive problem. And
I don't think I ever spent time
collectively. How long was that the narrative? Is what I mean.
Yeah, no, fair. That was the story of the first 7 weeks.
And now we're at a point where I'm personally sitting here saying the only person I don't have a massive question mark about is Will Levis. The rest of this team today, I have a big question about. And that's, I guess, points for Will Levis, but I think he's flipped the script. I think that this is another game that it certainly does not go against him in his ledger here in his 9-week audition at the end of the season. Yeah. I think that if anything, this is a game that his coaching staff will look at with a detailed eye, with a fine-tooth comb, go through the tape and say, I don't know what else how much more we could have asked from our quarterback in this game. Because there was a moment or two there in the second half where every Titans fan went, looking at the scoreboard, looking at where the Titans were with the ball. Is that and who is that who do we have to thank for that? Not the running game, because again, they did not run the ball. So Will Levis threw that team back into maybe sort of almost being back in a game they had no business even ever being sniffing close to returning in.
Yeah, I would say for me, this is a net neutral game for Levis in terms of like my opinion on Will Levis that I had coming into the game was not impacted positively or negatively by what I saw today. Okay. I think it was, I see Curtis in the chat likes to keep bringing up completion percentage, which might be the laziest stat that you could ever bring up for a quarterback, especially when you consider the Titans specifically had 6 drops. Easton, do you have a phone handy real quick?
I do.
What is 24 divided by 37?
24 divided by 37 is 64.8%.
So 6 drops counted for. I think that's a pretty fair number. 6. It could be up to 8, but I think it's at least 6 drops from the Titans and you switch 6 drops, and all of a sudden you've got a 64.8% completion percentage with a couple of throwaways in there as well. So I don't think completion percentage is an accurate way of grading Will Levis here. I think he did a lot of really good things.
Well, and can I put my nerd hat on for 2 seconds, Sam?
Sure.
I defy anybody to find me a single game in which a quarterback trailed all game by 2+ touchdowns, threw the ball 35 or more times. Their team ran the ball less than 12 times, and they had a completion percentage anywhere close to 60 or 65%. That's not how football works.
Yeah.
It's not. You do not, when you are doing nothing but throw the ball behind for 4 quarters, you do not have a 75% completion percentage unless you're throwing screens all day, in which case you're not scoring points.
Right. No, I think Will did a lot of things that you could really like here. It really made some nice plays. Like you said, didn't have a sack problem like we've seen him in the past. Didn't turn the ball over. Those were all steps in the right direction. But this team was kind of a train wreck. There was some miscommunications with receivers. I will go with a lower grade than you, Easton. I'll give it a B-. I almost want to give it a C+. It would be hard for me to go down to a C+ though until I have more information about some of the miscommunications that we saw throughout the game between Levis and the wide receivers, because that was a major concern here. Not Will's most accurate game by any means. There
Definitely
was a few passes that should have been caught that were still behind guys. You'd like to see him put a better throw on his receivers, and then multiple times where it looked like a miscommunication. Between NWI at one point, between Calvin Ridley at one point, and those are okay. Well, there was one with Chigakonkwo where he expected Chig to sit down and he didn't sit. He kept moving, and then the ball ended up behind Chig. Those are kind of difficult to say without more information about who is necessarily at fault. So some of that being off, I can't go as high as a B. But I'm not super moved one way or another by this. I think Will was fine. The story of this game to me is your run defense and your turnovers that we brought up in the first half, taking you out of this football game, giving away a couple of touchdowns with bad play, right? Like early on in that game that put you at a deficit that you couldn't hang in there. You played pretty well down the stretch in the second half and at the end of the first half on that last drive, but you were in such a hole that it didn't matter. It's very difficult to overcome 28 points. It's very difficult to overcome all those turnovers. And Scott says first quarter, that's the story. I fully agree. I mean, you came out, looked unprepared.
Yeah, I defied somebody to give me a game by those criteria, by the way. Rick says Falcons Saints 2021. I looked up Falcons Saints 2021. The Saints lost 25-27. I don't know what we're talking about. I mean, okay, so New Orleans scored 22 points to make it close at the end, so they were behind the whole game. Is that your point? Trevor Siemian was 25 of 41. That does not meet the criteria. Try again. Anyways, yeah, no, I so you give him a B, or I give him a B, you give him a B-. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't. Rick says he got me. He trolled me. Okay, got me, Rick. I don't know what else is there to say really about this quarterbacking performance, because somebody earlier said incomplete in regards to Levis, and we gave him a hard time. It's not to be fair to that person, it's not really a game you can grade him all that positively or negatively on because of the terms under which he was playing, right? I don't think that there was room for him to really hurt himself in this game in terms of his numbers and throwing interceptions and making his end of the year numbers look bad when we try to evaluate this 9-game sample as a whole. He didn't really do that. And I guess there was room for him to throw his way back into a magical comeback. He didn't do that either. So in terms of ranking it in the 4 games we've seen of him since he's come back from injury, I would say it's probably his 4th out of 4 game, but it wasn't.
I think he was better in this
bad
game than he probably was against the Chargers. Maybe I think I don't know.
It's close.
It's hard to say, but
but that's the point, right? Is that it's like we've talked so much about how his 3 games since returning have been positives. I can't sit here and say that this game was dramatically worse than those 3 performances.
Yeah, I mean, in the 4 games, he's sitting right at like 1,000 passing yards with 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. there's been a lot of improvement, and this is another game that just kind of keeps me neutral, and we'll see what happens moving forward. Jacksonville next week, another big opportunity for Levis to pad those stats a little bit. Last thing before we get out of here, super chat from Ryan Field says a leader is what needs, I guess, what this team needs, and says Jeff should have been traded.
Let's not relitigate that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the run defense was bad. I don't know if this game is a game that I would be particularly sour on Jeffrey Simmons. Patrica says, did Big Jeff Landry and Sweat play today? Nobody stopped the run, which is very true. This was not a good day for the Titans defensive front. But with the way that Jeffrey Simmons has played the last month before this week's game, I'm not going to be a guy that dog piles, and I'm not above
you're not number one fan Jeffrey Simmons stan.
I'm not going to be like the media. I do think the media gives Jeff a pass some of the time, as some people in the chat like to say right now. I don't think I'm one of those people, but with the way that he's played over the last month, he was excellent in the month leading up to today's game. I'm not going to take the one game that Jeff does not play amazing and use that as my opportunity to rehash all of the hey, Jeff should have been traded nonsense.
Right. I mean, obviously, I agree because I am a big
and I agree with Jake. Yeah, I mean, he says the linebackers are supposed to make tackles, D-line's supposed to take up blocks, and I legitimately cannot emphasize enough. Like, if you guys have access to all 22 out there, if anybody can get access to it, please go watch it back and just watch number 17. Jerome Baker is so bad at football. I watched the defense just watching Jerome Baker. Easton, I cannot wait for your analysis when you go break down the all 22 about I was mind blown by some of the stuff that he was doing, just selling, like giving the edge 24/7, just bad.
Apparently Brian Mitchell, Commanders player, just said that the Titans aren't a good defense, and the Commanders proved it today.
Correct. I mean, we've been saying, to be fair, we've been saying this for months, that this is a bad defense that has been like
number one defense in the league.
Hey,
fewest yards.
Look at us. We've given up the least amount of yards. Okay.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was an unmasking, that game for the Titans defense. No doubt about it.
Jerome Baker, Curtis says tank Commander Baker. But yeah, Austin Stanley was saying that Jerome Baker was a double agent for the
psyop.
Speaking of the tank, last thing here, Easton, before we get out of here, it's an update on Tankathon because the Titans lost. They're at 3-9. They're currently slated to pick 6th overall in the NFL draft, and they got a little bit screwed because the New England Patriots were supposed to win their football game. The New York Jets were supposed to win their football game. Both teams had the lead snatched from them in the last seconds of the game. The Titans would have leapfrogged both of them in the standings and be back in the top 4. But 3-9, and next week against Jacksonville, if the Titans lose it, they'll leapfrog Jacksonville, and they'll be right in the mix to be one of the worst teams in the league. But unfortunately for them, at 3-9, there are still 8 teams with 3 wins or less in the league right now. So it's difficult out here. Difficult to tank in 2024.
It's a tight tank in 2024.
Yeah, difficult. All right, that's all we got. Written content coming your way on A2ZSports.com as Easton and I recap the loss and figure out what's next for the Titans, what changes need to be made, and recap what Brian Callahan and Titans players had to say in the locker room over in Washington. So keep an eye on all of that stuff. Austin Stanley and Zach Bingham tomorrow morning for the A2Z Sports morning show, and that is probably a game that a show you don't want to miss after what we saw today. I think that might be a little bit of a fun one for the boys. Till next time, we'll see you later.